Welcome to Shear Transformation with Pauline Robertson on Full Service Radio 830 WCRN. Now, here's certified life coach, hair colorist, and author, Pauline Robertson.
Welcome to Shear Transformation. I'm Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair colorist, stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes. And I can be reached at sheartransformation2018@gmail.com or my website, paulinerobertson.com. And I want to thank my sponsors, Mary Beth Lynch of Thrive Real Estate in Shrewsbury and Jessica Texera of Miss Goldilocks Lifestyle Concierge, here on WCRN 830 AM radio. So this morning, my guest is Dan Candell, a hypnotist. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thanks, Pauline.
So, Dan, share with me, how did you decide to become a hypnotist?
It was kind of fate brought us together, right? That's what everybody wants to hear. Now, when I was 13, I had a learning challenge when I was in school, and I was having a lot of difficulties. So what ended up happening was I, interestingly enough, went on a family camping trip, saw a stage hypnotist perform, and I was enamored by it. After that, I went home, practiced it on my friends, and it worked. So when I practiced it on my friends, my parents found out I was interested in it. They got me a book on how to hypnotize people. There's a segment, How to Hypnotize Myself. Long story short, I hypnotized myself out of my learning disability, got professionally trained, became the world's youngest hypnotist when I was 13, started doing stage shows all around the country, performing for celebrities and everything like that. And now I have a clinic and a practice in Northborough where I help people with a whole bunch of fun, interesting problems.
That's a great story, and it's great to hear that you were so enamored at such a young age to become a hypnotist. And I know right now you have a big focus on working with clients to help overcome anxiety. So first, let me ask you, what is anxiety?
Anxiety is actually where a lot of people will say it's genetic or it runs in my family. It actually doesn't. Anxiety is actually a learned habitual behavior. We come into this world with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And those are the only two fears that we have that are built into us. They're kind of natural. All other anxieties, fears, stressors, things that stress us out, they are learned habitual behaviors. So if you can think about it, it's almost like a pattern. Every time your body feels threatened, you go into an anxious response, and that anxious response will soon become generalized. So therefore, let's say someone was in a car accident, and now that generalizes a few years later to now they have a fear of driving down the highways. Then it gets generalized again, and now they have a fear of driving altogether. So highway driving phobias are actually one of the most common anxieties that I work with, and also panic attacks. I teach people how to instantly stop panic attacks and anxiety from continuing on. So anxiety is just a learned habituated behavior.
That's really interesting to know. And even myself, I've had clients who've sat in my chair being a hairstylist. And most recently, I had one who's literally petrified to fly. And she told me she has to fly on business in the next few weeks. And I actually have referred her to you.
Awesome.
But how do you actually help people with anxiety?
So I first teach them about what anxiety is and how to distinguish it from other feelings in their body. So I first start off by teaching people how to understand anxiety and what it means for them. I then teach them almost like these magic mental techniques is really the only way I can describe it. And I make sure that when they're in my office, I actually have them stop a negative feeling or emotion in its tracks. So I have them label where it is in their body. I ask them a few questions about it, and then I teach them these quick mental and slightly physical techniques that within 30 to 60 seconds of applying those techniques, it instantly stops the anxiety in its tracks. And I test this out on people in my office, and people say, this is so weird. I felt anxious, I felt stressed, or I was doubting myself about this, and then I did that technique, and now I'm not, and it happened so quickly. So I teach them how to apply and generalize those solutions and positive feelings, and then I also use hypnosis. And hypnosis just helps get into that part of the mind that we can't normally get to, and I'm retraining them on a subconscious level on how to take control over their lives. So once we work with the anxiety, we work on boosting confidence, eliminating self-doubt as well. So we're really stopping any negative feeling, emotion, or sensation that can lead to anxiety, panic attack, fear, stress, or self-doubt or nervousness.
That's really interesting too. And does it seem that anxiety, like where you're trying to instill confidence in people, is that where anxiety may kind of come about through people's life in their lifetime with certain things?
Absolutely. I see anxiety manifest itself in many different ways. It's not just I have a panic attack, or it's not just I'm really nervous to go speak in front of people, but it's things that we shouldn't be nervous about at all, like going to a party amongst all of our friends. Some people are very nervous or anxious about that, and anxiety can manifest itself in stress, sometimes in physical symptoms of getting physically nauseous or sick, or a migraine headache or stress or tension headache. So we have stress, anxiety, we have worry, self-doubt, insecurities, and this trickles over into people's jobs, their relationships, where a lot of the people I see, their anxiety is ruining their entire relationship because it's causing them to worry and just be so insecure and doubtful. And some of these people, Pauline, have had major traumas, and they can kind of trace that anxiety back to those traumas. Other people, they've had no traumas in their life. They don't know why they're anxious, and it doesn't matter why they're anxious. What matters is that there's a solution, which is often a lot more simple than people will normally think.
That's really great information, Dan. So when we return, Dan will be sharing more on how to overcome anxiety and how hypnosis can help you. So I am Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair colorist, stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes. And I can be reached at Shear Transformation 2018 at gmail.com or my website, paulinerobertson.com, here on WCRN 830 AM radio.
You're listening to Shear Transformation with Pauline Robertson on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Once again, here's Pauline.
Welcome back to Shear Transformation. I am Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair color stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes, here on WCRN 830 AM radio. So my guest this morning is Dan Candell, hypnotist. And Dan was sharing with us how he became a hypnotist and how he now works with clients to help them through their anxiety. So Dan, before we move forward about anxiety, what is the difference between hypnosis and traditional therapy?
That's a really good question. And a lot of people often come in and ask, are you a therapist or psychologist? And I'm not. I use completely different methodologies. Usually, traditional talk therapies are mainly about discovering how the problem influenced or how situations influence your behavior today. They'll go through and have you talk about the problem. And my typical client has been through therapy for years and years and years, and they've not really had great results. And that's because simply talking about the problem can actually make it worse, and it carves a deeper groove in the brain. Therapists and psychologists, and I'm a big fan of therapy. I want people to know that. I'm a big fan of psychologists and also cognitive behavioral therapy and other types of certified therapies out there. But therapists usually work with the conscious part of the mind, which is that very logical, analytical, critical part of the mind. When people come in, I retrain their subconscious minds. Now, the subconscious mind is a part of get ready for this, folks, I'm going to say this fast. The subconscious part of the mind is a part of the mind that stores every single thing we've ever heard, seen, felt, done, learned, read, smelled, tasted, and never experienced. Now, based on that, it composes our beliefs, behaviors, habits, feelings, sensations, emotions, personality, and programs of sorts. I know, say that 3 times fast. I'll be quizzing you on this later. So, but I want you to know that that's the part of the mind that we work with. It's that natural part of the mind that helps things become habitual and helps things become automatic. And that's a part of the mind that hypnosis works with. And we can create faster, more rapid changes than people usually could through going to a traditional therapeutic modality.
That's really great to know. Because a lot of people will tend to ask those questions. What is the difference? I get the same thing being a life coach when clients will ask me what the difference is also.
Exactly.
All right. So what is a good starting point for people who have anxiety?
A really good starting point is setting up a consultation with either myself or another hypnotist who specializes in anxiety. There's a lot of hypnotists out there, and there's nothing wrong with this at all, but they'll specialize a little bit in everything, or they'll dabble a little bit in everything. I really made it my mission to specialize in helping people with not just anxiety, but also developing a high-performance mindset. When you think about this, anxiety doesn't just affect one type of person, and we all experience anxiety. So as a student, as a business owner, a salesperson, as just a typical person in a 9-to-5 job, we all experience anxiety in some form. So step number one is to identify anxiety and what it means to you. And step number two is to identify how your life will be better once you overcome that anxiety. I can't tell you how many people I've seen privately, Pauline, in my office I have in Northborough, where people are saying to me all the time, you know, Dan, I don't know how my life will be any different without anxiety. Well, then you're not ready yet. This is something you have to know, that your life will be substantially different when you overcome anxiety. So figuring out how it affects you and how your life will be better are two things that you should know or should discover before you reach out to anybody. The third is just make the decision to say, I've had enough of this. I want to overcome it. I want to get over it. I've had enough of this.
That's really good to know, because it's like you said, some people would actually question themselves, like, what would my life be like without it? Because they don't know anything different. And so what are some of the most common types of anxiety that you work with?
So I mentioned about driving phobias. Flying is a really big one. So there's fears and phobias, and fears and phobias are lumped into one category. And usually it can be a fear of big dogs, a fear of snakes, specific fears like flying. Then we have claustrophobia, social anxiety as well. On the other aspect of that, I work with a lot of people who have professional anxiety issues, and these are salespeople, they're athletes. I work with, I can't tell you how many athletes a week I work with. I probably work with about 20 people a week. And on average, I would say about 8 or 9 of those are athletes. And then I have other people who come in who are students, usually exam anxiety or social anxiety. So a lot of it boils down to giving presentations or taking a test or something where a person feels pressured. And that's what I work with most, is that social aspect of it, whether people are in sales or whether people are in athletics or they play a sport. It's really helping them overcome that anxiety, and then so they can feel confident going into other situations and confronting that thing that would make them feel anxious.
So it's kind of like their performance or performance anxiety.
Exactly.
Or being up in front of people, maybe having to do a presentation in front of a business group or...
Absolutely. And it can be from that all the way to the typical sales professional where they get anxious before they go into a sales call or into a sales meeting, helping them feel calm, relaxed, and in control, and also helping them feel more self-confident going into that so they can close the sale, close the deal.
That's really good to know, and those are some really good tips, especially for anyone who is dealing with anxiety right now at this point in their life, where they can definitely reach out to you. So when we return, Dan and I will be continuing our talk on how to overcome anxiety. I am Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair color stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes, here on WCRN 830 AM radio.
Let's return to Shear Transformation with Pauline Robertson on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Once again, here's Pauline.
Welcome back to Shear Transformation. I am Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair color stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes, here on WCRN 830 AM radio. So this morning I have Dan Candell, hypnotist, here with me this morning. And we've been talking a lot about anxiety, which is a feeling that a lot of people have out there and just are not sure how to control it or overcome it. And I know as we've been talking, Dan, about all the different types of anxiety, how people can deal with it, and what types of anxiety that you help people overcome, How many sessions can it take for someone to help overcome that anxiety?
1 million. No. Actually, it's very, very simple. Anxiety, I've narrowed it down to a science where I take a client-centered approach. So everyone is a little bit different. And I start everyone off with a strategy session that's completely free, just so I can kind of tell what their issues are and how long, in my professional opinion, how long I think it's going to take for them to overcome it, what the different components are. Traditionally, I do about 4 sessions with people over 8 weeks. Normally, people experience, I would say about 86% of my clients experience positive benefits from as early on as the very first session. Like they can tell they feel different as soon as they leave my office. And then we work on other components of reducing the anxiety and building confidence, and also reinforcing and repeating the message over the other sessions. So usually people will notice differences in the very first session. If it's a very specific fear or phobia, we can get rid of that very, very quickly, usually within about 15 minutes in the first session, and then we reinforce that message over the course of the next 3 or 4 sessions.
That's really good to know. So it doesn't really take that many sessions for some people or most people.
Right. And then some people, they do want to come back for reinforcement, or there's other issues. And there are some clients, a very small handful of clients, where I've been seeing them once a month for 6 or 7 years, not because it didn't work for them, but because they love hypnosis, they love what we do, and I help them achieve all of their goals coming through. So there's some people I have who are long-term clients I really love as well. But know that for one specific issue, it doesn't take very long, usually about, I would say 4 sessions to really at most 6 sessions.
That's really good to know. And it's great when you have clients that you've had for quite a long time. And sometimes it's just that reassurance or that comfort,
Absolutely.
Getting to know people and they feel comfortable with you with
Right.
what might be going on in their life. So let me ask you this, kind of changing the subject a little bit, but what is the difference between stage hypnosis and clinical hypnosis?
Yes. So I'm also a stage hypnotist, and this takes me all over the world. I've opened up for Slash from Guns N' Roses. I've done some work with the American Idols, and it's absolutely amazing where stage hypnosis has taken me, so that way I can use that as a step in to talk about how to teach people to reprogram their mind to get more of what they want in life. So stage hypnosis is more the entertainment side of it. There, I'm showcasing volunteers that I don't know who these volunteers are or are going to be, because I only do take volunteers. And there we're playing with their imaginations. So I'm putting them into a receptive state. And this is what hypnosis feels like when a person is on stage. And knowing this, I work with a lot of high schools. I do a lot of college shows, nightclubs, everything like that. But I also do a lot of corporate events as well. Last weekend, I just performed for GFA's employee appreciation dinner that they had for 150 of their employees. I travel all around the world doing this, but I also mix a motivational message with it. So the stage hypnosis is featuring the entertainment side of it, where we'll have somebody believe they're conductors of an orchestra, they've won $10 million, and we ask them what they're going to do with the money. One of my famous skits is I have people think their belly button is talking to them, and then, they've lost their belly button, and now they have to go and find it, that type of thing. So that is completely 100% real and legitimate. And what that type of hypnosis feels like, it feels almost like, for those of you who are adults and have gone to a fair amount of social gatherings, it's almost like you've had one too many glasses of wine at a party. And you say, I can't believe I said that. And you call the host of the party up afterwards. You're like, I can't believe I said that. It's almost like that, where you know exactly what you're doing. You're just so relaxed, you don't care what you're doing. In a therapeutic setting, it's more of you're totally aware, again, of what's happening, but you would never do anything that in a hypnotherapist's office that you do in a stage show, because that's not your purpose there. So the purpose on stage is to entertain. The purpose in the office is to get the help that you need therapeutically. And like I said, now I travel all around the world, not just entertaining people, but using that as a platform, just like I did my TED Talk, to help positively program people's subconscious minds to get more of what they want in their personal and professional life.
Yes, and I've had the opportunity to see a few of your stage shows too, and they really are great and entertaining also, and very interesting that when people come out of their hypnosis, they're on stage wondering, what am I doing up here?
Exactly.
So it's really fun to see those. So Dan, how can people get in touch with you to be able to work with you?
Yes, it's a good question. So you can go on my website, which is dancandell.com. That's DANCANDELL, dancandell.com. Or you can go on my local website, which is mahypnosis.com. Think of Massachusetts and hypnosis, put them together, mahypnosis.com. On there, you can schedule a free strategy session with me if this is something that you'd like to pursue. And there's no obligation. I just want to talk to people first just to make sure we'll be a good match and to make sure that hypnosis is right for you. If you would like to book a corporate keynote that I do, or motivational keynote, or even a stage show, that's where you go to dancandell.com. Again, dancandell.com. And you can get to both places from dancandell.com.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for being on the show this morning.
My pleasure.
So it's been great to get some really good information on how to help a lot of people out there with anxiety and how they can feel better through this holiday season and start their new year off right. So tune in next week to Shear Transformation. I am Pauline Robertson, certified life coach, hair color stylist, and author of I Have Worn Both Pairs of Shoes. And I can be reached at Shear Transformation 2018 at gmail.com or my website, paulinerobertson.com. And I want to thank my sponsors, Mary Beth Lynch of Thrive Real Estate in Shrewsbury and Jessica Texera of Miss Goldilocks Lifestyle Concierge here on WCRN 8:30 a.m. Thank you for listening and have a great week.
This has been Shear Transformation with Pauline Robertson on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.